Mindset is a powerful thing. How do you break through your thoughts? Whether it's feelings of imposter syndrome, of not being or feeling good enough, or just the script that you've been running in your head all your life. Like, this is who I am and this is who I'm not, and those rigid thoughts that keep you where you are. In this episode, I'm going to talk a little bit about how you're not your thoughts and how to start breaking free of that mentality. Hi, I'm Leah Fetterhoff, a user experience designer, writer, and life strategist. I'm here to inspire you to thrive in work and life. For the longest time growing up, I worried a ton. I worried about how people perceived me. I worried about what other people thought of me. And I was always walking on eggshells, making sure that their perception of me aligned to what I was putting forth into the world, which is a lot of mental labor and extra work, right? I probably cared way more about it than anyone else actually did, but it took me a long time to get there. Even now, I still worry about really little things, and I'll have to talk to my husband, who's much more of a realist than I am, or a friend, and say oh, is this accurate, or what would happen if I did this, right? And it's a much bigger deal in my head than it is in real life. So I encourage you, talk to someone, someone you trust, if you're feeling that self-doubt, or just need a sanity check about how you're assuming something or thinking about how something might play out. The problem with always caring about what other people think, and of course, always listening to that running log of thoughts in your own head, is you learn to play small. You're afraid to take risks because it becomes very hard to break that perception that other people are placing on you or that you have of yourself, right? A gap of, the life you want and the life you currently have might feel so much further than if you just started to, ignore your thoughts and try that hard, scary thing anyway. I've mentioned this in previous videos, but I did Toastmasters to start to develop public speaking skills, and that's helped me a lot, right? But it was baby steps, like my first few speeches, I was a wreck, I was nervous, I was reading notes, right? But you keep doing that and doing that. I mean, it's the same, when you're a baby and you learn to walk, you don't just start running, right? You start crawling and you start standing up and leaning on things. You eventually start walking, then running. And even then, right, it's a while before you stop tripping over yourself. So it's that path forward. But in our heads, right, it becomes scarier and scarier to do that first action, that first step towards what we want, because sometimes we hold ourselves back. And that mindset is so hard to break free of if you're not even aware that you are not your thoughts. Another book I'm reading right now, I haven't finished yet, but it's been pretty good so far, is called The Motivation Manifesto by Brendan Buchard. And I hope I'm saying his name right. It was recommended to me by a woman in one of the Facebook groups I'm in, and I found it really inspiring so far. And what's nice is it really taps into your inner self. It's like speaking with that authentic voice to basically live up to the potential that you have inside you. And it's a reminder, because none of it is really new, but we forget. As you move day to day with the interactions you have, it's easy to believe what other people think of you and stop listening to yourself. And when you stop listening to yourself, like inner self, right? Not your thinking, but how you really feel deep inside, you know when something's off, and you know when you're not doing the thing that lights you up, right? It's easy to tell whether your energy is aligned with the things you're doing or if you're just going through the motions of doing something. So, how do you get to listening to your inner self instead of the dialogue that goes up here. Before we get there, I want to read a few excerpts from the book I'm reading right now. First, a little bit around fear and what that fear means and how we react to this kind of fear that I just mentioned. And then I'll talk about one of the 9 declarations that really spoke to me. So this book goes through 9 declarations of basically how to own your personal power. And I'll talk a little bit about one of them today with this topic. So here's the book here, and I have stickies so I don't lose my place. It does come with a cute little bookmark though. The quote that I like here is, "We must not worry what could go wrong, but rather wonder what magnificence could enter our lives when we are consistently expressing our genuine selves and pursuing our true passions. Let us obsess about freedom, not fear." That really speaks to me because that's where the worry comes from. When we're born and, when we were still cave people back in the day, fear meant fight or flight. It meant we really needed to protect ourselves if we wanted to continue living. This day and age, we're pretty safe from those physical fears or things that might eat us alive in 1 second, but mentally, our body still reacts the same way to things that scare us. But these are just other people's thoughts or our own thoughts. And while, yes, you should worry if you're crossing a street without looking both ways, alternatively, you shouldn't really be scared when, oh no, heaven forbid you do something that someone doesn't think is aligning to who you are or who you should be, right? So once again, let us obsess about freedom, not fear. Declaration 8 in this book is, "We shall inspire greatness." And this is probably one of my main goals or my own declarations for filming these Swishie YouTube videos, for doing my podcast, and for putting myself out there. It's really fulfilling to me, but what I believe it does is activates me. Once again, it's that learning and growing. I learn something new every time I record these. I come up with a topic or I hear about a topic I should talk about. It's something fun for me, and hopefully you're enjoying it too. But what I want to read for an expert here is, "We must have the courage to ask, in this confused era, am I seeking to be a role model on a daily basis for all of those I love and serve? Am I lifting up those around me? Am I in some way elevating humanity by leading others to see and activate their potential? Am I living a truly great life?" Seeking greatness and doing the work to deserve it must come back into our collective consciousness, right? That's all of us. Let us now awaken that powerful force within that seeks to lift some of the weight of the world from the backs of those struggling. Let us take our position as generals of generosity, as leaders of the highest caliber who give a damn about others and the world. Let us declare with firm intent to the world and ourselves, "We shall inspire greatness." And you just feel the power of these words. These are declarations, and these are things we should always be seeking to aspire to, not because it's the right thing to do, but it is because that is how you live a life full of passion, of purpose, and one you're truly invested in. Because once again, what kind of life is worth living if you're not actually living it? So that's why I think breaking free of your thoughts is such a powerful way to activate yourself into doing the work, into falling into the life, into going in the flow and the direction of that life you truly want to live. So that brings me to my next point. To start breaking free of those thoughts, you have to start small. Once again, do something that feels like it's moving you towards the life you want. And it might not necessarily be the biggest thing you could do or the riskiest thing, but it starts to give you a taste of that life that you want for yourself. it starts to manifest it as real in your own life right now. And this could be the smallest thing, but it's still doing something different from your daily routine. And it's something that you're curious about and interested in and want to grow into. Or you think you do, right? So this is another way to either prove to yourself it is what you want to do, or you can always pivot again, right? Like life is long, short and long. So you can figure out what parts of this new thing you're doing that you want to keep doing, and then which parts you realize also aren't for you, right? Either way, you would have learned something because you took action or tried something new. Next, do something bigger, and you keep building off that. Once again, this is a reminder, don't do just random stuff, anything that pops into your head. I mean, if you want to skydive, go for it, but figure out why. Or what is it about it that excites you? So that way you could do the self-reflection after you did the thing, or I don't know, go to like one of those iFly like indoor skydiving places to see if you even want to do the bigger risk. You know, that's kind of like how I would tease it apart. Like, what's the smallest way you can still do that bigger thing without necessarily going all the way from 0 to 100 if that's something that really scares you, right? It's like getting your feet wet just a little bit until you're comfortable and then ready to tackle on something that's a little bit bigger. Once you start breaking free of your own blocks in your mindset, it's easier to start seeing that you aren't your thoughts. Just the same way that maybe there's something that you're unhappy about in your life, or you know it could be better, but you don't know what, and then boom, the moment that something comes crashing down in life, right? Like something scary happens, it puts everything else into perspective. And then all those other things aren't such a big deal anymore. And that can only happen, right? Because your focus was on just life in general and I'm miserable and all this, to the big, scary, like immediate, urgent thing. Wherever you're focused on, like that's the thing that will feel the biggest to you in life. So part of breaking this mindset is to move your focus away from just the things that are bothering you, or this running dialogue or monologue, I guess, of what is happening in your life or what's keeping you unhappy in life, to actually taking action on it and breaking free from those thoughts. Just as you can change your thoughts anytime, or you can think about one thing and then shift gears to like obsess over something else, you can also let go and release those thoughts and just let them pass, right? That's what mindfulness meditation is about. That's why it's nice to journal. That's why, you know, freeing your mind of your thoughts and realizing that your only reality is just right here and now breaks you free of that. And what happens when you start just doing things because you feel excited to do them, you feel like you're growing by doing them, is that you continue to do these cool new things in your life, and you don't hold yourself back just because the past you, the you a few years ago, or the person that, you know, your close friends and family think are not you, would do. You start to break free of that. In addition to that, that's how you, as I read, that's how you start to live out your greatness, is through doing the things that activate you, that light you up, that inspire you. And you don't get that from playing small and being afraid of the things that would bring you joy or make you come alive. So how do you activate that greatness for yourself? And how do you keep moving in that direction? How do you keep cultivating that self-awareness that drives you into aligning actions, that brings you even more self-awareness and alignment? And, you know, like it becomes kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy, ultimately. So that's all I have for you today. Let me know what you thought about this episode or any of my episodes by leaving a comment below. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you have or talk to you further about this. If you liked what you heard today, subscribe and share with friends. And if you're looking for more resources to thrive in work and life, check out Swishie.com. I also have a Facebook community at Swishie Official, so check that out as well. Thank you for watching, and see you next time. If you enjoyed this, subscribe and share with friends.